Alright, so welcome back. So as you can see here, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit more work on these top pieces here. So I've decided that these edges aren't as flush as I want them to be. I want them to be perfectly straight. And, one of the easiest, best ways to do that is take out a circular saw and use it to get a nice clean cut by using another piece of straight, a known straight edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out where I need to put my board to get the edge that I'm looking for. And about there. Okay, so I've got my board, and then I'm going to take my clamps, clamp one end down, which my clamps are on the other side, of course. I'm going to clamp one end down, take my speed square, and use that to get myself a good solid square line. So, all right. So if I square off on this side, there's that. Make sure we're square on this end. Yep. Put another clamp over there. Whew. So hot. So hot. Alright, so I've got my guide set up here, and all I gotta do at this point is just follow it through. Now I do think that I made a little bit far to the side, so I'm gonna have to adjust real quick. Whew, man, it's so hot back in here. So freaking hot. Okay, and square, that end is square, clamps on. Okay, so we're good to go. Now I just gotta plug in my good old circular saw, which I need to get a new one that's battery powered because plugging in stuff is getting old. I need to sharpen the blade up on this thing at some point in the near future. Whew. But there we go. So basically just gotta put my saw up against this, use it as a guide, and I'm actually going to clamp my workpiece down to the bench so I don't have to contend with that. There we go, and here we go. It's going to be a quick cut. Beautiful. So now that's perfectly squared up. So when I put my other pieces, my bottom pieces up to it, it'll be square. Assuming those pieces are square, which means I also have to do the same thing to the one edge on those to make sure that they are in fact square. Now this step could have easily replaced all the planer work that I was doing and would have worked a lot better to begin with. So if I could go back in time, I would just do that. Alright, so yeah, helps when everything doesn't suck. When life isn't the worst. Okay. Let's figure this out again. Okay, so there we go. I swear I'm a professional. Or I'm a Tim the Toolman Taylor of things. I just clamped my freaking hand in the clamp and just pointed it down. Grip on it. Alright. So, go ahead, make sure I got it squared off on that side. Clamp that down tighter. Then come over to this side, make sure it's squared off as well. Take the camera a little bit, just to show me who's boss. There we go. Everything's squared up. Now all I gotta do is do my cut. Whew. Okay, so now we can actually get started on putting together the rails and actually start getting the back together or the sides together. So what I figured out for this is I had a few of these old 2x4s laying around that were, originally for my patio. They don't really work that good for my patio anymore because I made it all out of aluminum now. So instead, I'm going to use these kind of old 2x4s and kind of sand them down a little bit so they're not look a little bit newer and pull all the old nails out and stuff. And I'm going to use these to actually support the sides. So I'll give you an idea how that looks. So as you can see here, I've got my boards laid out how they're going to sit when it's together, my two panels, and I've got my 2x4. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to lay this down on top of it, and I'm going to leave it a little bit of room on the bottom because I'm actually going to use the bottom of this as the way for it to lift up. So even though I lost a few inches, about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, something like that, I'll be able to make up for it by leaving this on the bottom. And then what I'll do to cover that at the end is I'll take another board and just kind of put that out on the bottom to give it kind of a stylized bottom little kick plate area, which will be kind of nice actually. So, or I might just leave it a little bit open, that way, I don't know, we'll figure it out. But I'm going to leave these out there just to give it a little bit more boost in height to make up for what I lost. And yeah, so I need to get my pencil out. And I'm going to draw the board about where I think I want it to go up to. It's going to be about there. So I made my mark. Now I got to cut it with the miter saw. And once I get it cut, I'll be able to put some glue on there. I'm going to put some glue on, and then I'm going to kind of just put some weight on it. And the pressure is going to keep it together while I actually do what I'm doing. So that'll give me a chance to take a break, which I greatly need right now. Nothing too special here, just basically using the miter saw to do a quick cut of these boards. Nothing fancy. And if I could just get the dang plug to go into the other plug, that would be great, but good lord, okay, good, done, did it. Alright, so I have my board here. I'm going to go ahead and give it a quick cut. Smooth in there, and yeah, it's actually, I'm actually going to do a little bit of a chop on the bottom just to clean that edge up because it's been outside for so long. All I got to really do is put glue on this, arrange that here however I want, and then put a bunch of weight on it. If I do that, everything will come together. They're coming together just fine. So what I am going to do is I'm only going to glue it to one side first. That way I'm going to glue one side, like the top panel first. So I'm going to do both boards glued to the panel here. So I'll do a board here, 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 and here. Put the top panel on there, then flip it over. And then I'll put my bottom panel on top of that to glue it, because that'll allow me to clamp it, get a better connection, and also I'll be able to square up that joint a little bit better before I actually put it together, so I get a good idea of how it looks. But yeah, pretty easy. So let's cut one more board. Now for this one, it doesn't need to be as long. Well, it doesn't need to be as long as the other one, obviously. So I need to do another quick measurement. Now what will matter is having the gap end up the same on both sides. A quick cut to dress up the edge a little bit, and a little bit dirty, but whatever. So I've got my pieces. Now I'm gonna lay them on. How I'm gonna try to do this. Now the one thing I do have to make sure I keep straight exactly where it needs to go. Okay. And inside the pencil line, I'll put some glue. And I'm gonna get the clamps ready. So you really can't have, well, you definitely have too much glue because it'll leak out, but so it's hard to have too much glue. Right now it seems like it's hard to have any glue. There we go. So now the thing about wood glue is you really want to see some seeping out the sides when you're all done and you got it clamped, because that tells you that you got plenty in there. Alright, so if I don't see any, I probably need to use a little bit more. But I'm also going to put a screw or two in here, so it's not going to matter all that much. Alright, so I have to screw it from the opposite sides, that's why I have to use some clamps initially. Otherwise, this wouldn't really work. So I'm going to lift it up slightly, put my clamp in place, make sure I position my clamp so it doesn't pull this too hard in the wrong direction. Okay. Clamp the other end. And you don't want to really overclamp, so it kind of cause things to warp a little bit. But you got to make sure you have a good solid connection. Which the screws are going to help with that anyway. So there's one bit there. What I'm going to do, like I said, is add some screws in. And the screws are going to help hold it in place a little bit better. Now, since I'm using a 2x4, what you usually put in this type of wood is actually these drywall screws. And these are actually pretty much perfect the size that I got, and they'll sink right in. So these are going to be the screws that I'm going to use for this particular job. And I'm just going to put enough in. Plus, I'm coloring the whole thing black anyway, or at least part of it. So these will blend in with the final paint job anyhow, because they're already black. Joys of magnets and working with a grinder so that metal shavings stick to your freaking metal magnetic stuff. Anyway. And also another cool thing about these types of screws, they're self-tapping, so not a whole lot of effort needs to go into putting them in. So, there we go. Oop. Go. 5. So 5 screws to hold that in. That's got a nice solid connection. Now the reason I'm gluing this side is for extra sturdiness. I didn't really have to use glue. If I wanted to take the thing completely to get it apart, then yeah, I could do that. But it's easier for me to do it this way because what I'll end up doing is laying it down on the side before I put the back on, or standing it up and putting it on that way. But either way, I'll figure it out. So, next thing I want to do is do some more gluing and screwing to get this side piece on. Because now that I got the screws in, I can actually take off the clamp that's closest and I can get ready to put some glue on there, put the other panel on, and continue on. And then when that's done, then I just lay the thing on there for the next set. But first I want to make sure that I've got this board set up how I want it. And we have a nice flat mating surface for the two. So. Alright, so now that I've got the glue on here, not quite yet anyway, so my next step is going to be to put some glue on here, and then get this right, but I gotta make sure I got the right side on before I do that. I think the other side is going to be the right side. That's good, right there. Alright, so what I'm going to do is put a good amount of glue on here, if I can get my glue to work properly. Alright. And yep. So get this on how I want it, and then I need to clamp it in place. Let's get it right there. I only got to keep it clamped about right till I get my screws in. So, put a couple screws in, and this side will be ready to go. Alright. Well, there we go. That's one. That is one portion with the rails on, and I just need to go ahead at this point and get the other portion set up, and put the other bar down here. Once I do that, I'll be in pretty good shape. So I can actually take two of these clamps off the end, and I'll use those to hold the bottom board in place. Which I'll need to glue as well. And then I gotta repeat this process for the other side. Now, something I'm realizing that I could have done is I could have used these boards as guides for cutting the other 2x4, but it's fine. I'll work it out. So what I'll likely end up doing is getting some little feet on screws and putting them on the bottom of these 2x4s. That way, I'll have a good solid place, or good way to get any wobble out of it. Not a whole lot of extra effort. Of course, they're going to have to be tough, so they'll have to be like, made of metal and kind of thick, but it'll work. It'll also let me get things out from under and move it a little bit easier. Might actually put casters on the bottom of it when I think about it, because the whole thing isn't going to be that heavy. Probably, if I had to guess, it'll be around 60 pounds, 70 pounds. Just awkward to move the whole thing as a unit. Alright, so got this measured out, drawn around. So now it's time to put some of the glue down Got the glue on, and time to put the board in place, clamp it down, and screw it together. So there's a place to lift this up a bit. There's that one. This one shall soon follow. Make sure I don't get too far off. There we go. Now I can lift this up and kind of rest it on the back of the clamps while I put the screws in. I'm going to start with the screws that are towards the center here. That way I can get the glue started working. You know, it feels like it. There we go. Just gotta get that in there nice and tight. And of course, once this is all said and done, there'll be a little bit of patching. Might put like a strip of something over this gap here, just to give it, you know, a look of style, like maybe like a red stripe or something. Cover that up. Or I might put some caulk in there and sand it down. Really got a lot of options. Okay, there's that. So it's on there solid. And I'll start putting in a bunch of screws. So I need 3 screws for the bottom section to match up. So I don't think I need to match it yet. I'm going to put 4 in the bottom section here as well. Like I was saying, the good thing about these screws is they kind of countersink in without having to use a countersink bit, which is nice. I'll just put a little bit more torque in them later on to actually make them sink all the way down. But they do a pretty good job on their own. So that's one panel almost fully assembled. I just need to put this piece here on, which is of course going to require a clamp and a little more glue. And this one I don't really have anything super fancy that I gotta do to make it level off. I just need to kind of position it in the center because it'll provide the support for the other boards that kind of hold on to it. So I got all that done, and that was a lot of work. It's really hot out here and I keep getting interrupted, but yeah. So we're almost done with the whole side. Once I get the other side done, the thing's pretty much halfway done at that point, because all it's going to be left is putting on the back, the front part, and the sides. I'm also going to try to locate still a coin mechanism, so I have to take a trip to the local flea market this weekend and see if I can pick one up there, or maybe there's somewhere else that has them nearby. But that's all for now. Thanks a lot for liking, commenting, and subscribing if you do those things, because that would be great, because I am trying to build my audience back up to the point where I can monetize my videos again, because YouTube kind of sucks. And yeah, so I'll see you on the next one, and try not to die until then.